Okay, morning students, Sabah khair. Today our lecture uh, will start with answer the questions which I have sent them to you about this reading. Reading it is a food chain. Okay, let us give you some interpretations or notes about this reading before answer the questions. Here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. Okay, 5 paragraphs about the food chains. Food chains, it's very interesting, very interesting. Okay, very interesting subject and very easy for you. Okay, the first paragraph is speaking about the relationship between the organisms, grass, plant, animals, and human, and decomposers. Okay, sunlight. Just 1, 2, 3. Between the three types of organisms: plant, animal, and humans in this food chain. The second paragraph is speaking about the first organism. First organism, which is called usually producer. This organism, it makes its own food. Therefore, this organism, which I mean grass or plant, doesn't depend on the other organism to make its own food. Okay, and this is very important. Therefore, this organism um, uses the process, certain process to get its food. The second paragraph is speaking about the about consumers. We've got three types of consumers according to what they eat. Consumers can also be divided into groups, three groups, according to what they eat. Okay, and this paragraph is speaking about the decomposers. Decomposers absolutely after the date of the human, and some of the organisms, very small organisms, is going to break down the body to simple molecules, and this small organism like bacteria, fungi. So these molecules will go back to the soil, and plants will use it as energy source to growth. Therefore, the food chain begins again. Okay, and this is summary. What I did clearly say. Summary. Okay, now let us start the answer of the question. Okay, we've got, before the answer of the question, we've got two types of primary consumer. Primary consumer, when it direct the plants, producer, direct, used by the human, or this organism, which is human. Therefore, it's called primary consumer. But when this organism or human will eat the meat of the animals, therefore it's called secondary consumer, because the animals will eat the grass as a food, then this organism or human will eat the meat of these animals. Therefore, it's called a secondary consumer. Okay, let us go to the answer the question. Look at the diagram of the food chain and answer the questions. Now you've got a little bit interpretations about the diagram or reading. What is a food chain? It's very simple question and very clear. Okay, a type of supermarket, we haven't did anything or speak about the supermarket. A line of people handing out food? No. C is the answer of the question. A group of plants and animals which depend on each other for food, which is food chain. which is food chain. اوكي اللي هي تعتبر السلسلة الغذائية. 2. What is usually producer in a food chain? As I said, plants doesn't depend on the other organism to make its own food. Therefore, could be considered the answer of this question is a plant. The third question is, what is usually consumer in a food chain? As I said, we've got two types of consumers: animal and person, human. Therefore, the answer is human or an animal, could be considered as a usually consumer. Okay, usually consumer, because a human sometimes eat direct the plants, therefore could be considered usually consumer. And animals direct eat the plants, grass, one of the important foods for the animal. Therefore, human or an animal is the correct answer. So, okay, now let us jump to the question 2. Check the meaning of the words in the box in a dictionary. Now, we need to know the meaning of these terms: decomposers, photosynthesis, herbivores, omnivores, carnivores. Now, we have to know what does it mean, each one of these terms. The question is, read the text more carefully and put the words from the exercise 2, these five terms, in the correct blank. That means now we've got fill in the blanks using these 5 terms. Let us start with give you a meaning of this word. Decomposers, an organism, especially a soil bacterium, fungi, or an invertebrate that decomposes organic materials. Now, decomposers is organisms like bacteria makes hydrolysis for the material, reaching to the origin material of this compound. Hydrolysis of the bonds between the compounds, okay, to give the essential units of the material. Okay, for instance, human after die, bacteria will hydrolysis his body to organic materials, and this organic materials goes down to the soil, and the plants will back to use this material as a source for the growth. Therefore, decomposers, organisms used to hydrolysis or decomposes of the organic material. Photosynthesis, here, photosynthesis, it's a process using by green plants or some organisms using the sunlight to synthesize food from carbon dioxide and water. Therefore, process used by the plants or some organisms use sunlight to synthesize their food using carbon dioxide and water. Then by this process, the carbon dioxide and water will be used to get the food. For instance, uh, photosynthesis in plants generally involves the green pigment chlorophyll and generates oxygen as byproduct. Now, plants use the sunlight to get the one of the important energy source for these plants, which is sugar. Sugar is come from carbon dioxide and water. Therefore, plants use sunlight to make the reaction between carbon dioxide and water to get sugar and oxygen as byproduct. This is basically the meaning of photosynthesis. As I said, we've got three types of the consumers: herbivores, animals that feeds on plants, يعني تعتمد غذاء على النباتات, herbivores. Omnivores, an animal that feeds on meat and plants. إذا omnivores feeds meat and plants, flesh and plants, omnivores. Carnivores just feeds only flesh, يعني meat. Then we've got three types of the consumers. One of them feeds on just only plants. This is herbivores. The second, meat and plants, is called omnivores. Just meat or flesh is called carnivores. Now we know what does it mean. Each terms here. Now let us go to the paragraph, and we need to fill in the blanks of these five words using these 5 words in these boxes, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blanks. Okay. They use, the first one, they use, that is, the process of turning carbon dioxide and water into organic compounds using energy from the sunlight. It's very, very clear what does it mean. This is the process which I did clearly say about it, which is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis means this process using carbon dioxide and water to get the organic compound. Okay, converting the carbon dioxide and water into organic compound using energy from the sunlight. This one source of energy, carbon dioxide and water to get the sugar or organic compound. Okay, the second blank, this is 3 blanks, 2, 3, 4, is speaking about the consumers. Here, blank, which eat only plants or plants product. That means only plants. We said only plants. That means, or is called herbivores. Herbivores, one of the organisms, one of the animals, eat or feeds on the plants, just the plants. Okay. Third blank is which eat animals. That means just the flesh, therefore is called carnivores. Carnivores feeds only on animals or meat. And the final blanks in the consumers, which eat both of them, plants and animals. Therefore, this is called omnivores. Omnivores, 2 types of the sources: plants and flesh or meat. Okay. Now in this paragraph here, when the final consumer dies, its body is broken down into simple molecules by by we need some organisms used to hydrolysis of the body or break down the composition of the body to simple molecules or organic molecules to use in the future by the plants. Therefore, these plants will be filled with decomposers. Decomposers like bacteria or bacteria or fungi, in addition to some of the vertebrates, are using as a decomposers to hydrolysis of the body, for instance, for a human body, to break down this human body to simple molecules. Therefore, this is decomposers will hydrolysis of the human body. Then this simple molecules will go down to the soil, and the plants will use this as a source for growth. Okay, this is very simple reading, and very famous reading is speaking about the food chain. Food chain, that means we need to speak about the organisms involved in this food chain. In addition to, we need to know what does it mean photosynthesis, because one of this organism, its food or doesn't make by the other organism, Therefore, grass makes its food from the by the process photosynthesis, using the source of energy, sunlight, and carbon dioxide in addition to water from the soil. In addition to that, we've got two types of these consumers. Primary consumers, primary, this human and animals, and secondary, when eat just the meat after the animal feeds on the grass or plants. Very important things in this reading: decomposers. Like bacteria will make breakdown for the human body. For instance, getting the simple molecules, it's very important as a energy, as a source for the plants. Okay. Now, let us jump to the very interesting subject. And if you want to develop your speaking as a native person and develop your writing, therefore we're going to speak about the prepositions. Prepositions يعني حروف الجر. Now, in, we know what does it mean. In is used with. Now, we will speak about using of these prepositions. Where does it use? Okay, this is very important to give very clear text when you want to speak with native person. First, in is used with month, مع الأشهر. In January, in February, in October, in December. Two, could be used with year. In 2013, in 2019, in 2020. Third, in the future. If you want to do something in the future, therefore could be used in. For instance, I'm going to holiday. I'm going to a holiday in 4 weeks. Okay, this is in the future. Okay, يعني راح عندي عطلة خلال 4 أسابيع. Okay, that means in could be used in month, year, and text give you mean about future. Something in the future will do. Okay, on is used with first week. On Monday, on Tuesday, on Friday, on Thursday. Okay. In addition to that, date refers to one day. This is very important step, you have to understand what does it mean date refer to one day. For instance, on 28th of August. Now, 28th is a day from the date. One day from the date. Okay? On my birthday, this is on my birthday. What does it mean that? One day of my life date. Of my life date. One day I've used one day, which is birthday, on my life date. Therefore, we have, if you want to use on here, we need to select the day. We need to select the day from the date. Therefore, we have to say on 28th of August. Okay? On my birthday. Selected day, one day from the date. So, okay. At is used with hour, like at 6 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, at 6 o'clock a.m. or at 3 o'clock p.m. In addition to that, could be used with night, word night, at night. Okay, at night. Okay, if we want to use in or on with at, this is very important. Note, if we want to use in or on with at in the same text, in or at must be in the first, then at in the end. At in the end. Okay? Have a look for this question, very important question. When did you arrive in or at London? متى سوف تصل إلى لندن? In or at? The answer is when did you arrive in London? But why in London? Why? The answer was in preposition instead of at. Okay. The reason or interpretation for this question, because London is very big area. For example, I'm in London at Heathrow Airport. Have a look for this diagram. That, what do I need to reach it for it? This circle is London. Okay? I'm in London. Now I want to give you more precise details. Where am I exactly? I'm in London, in this circle, London City, but at Heathrow Airport. At Heathrow Airport. Okay, let us give another example. If you want to speak with your friend, إذا أنت مثلا بالتايمز سكويرز شوب كبير, and your friend صديقك أو صديقك asked you, where are you now? You can't answer. You are inside the Times Square. This is the big area. But where exactly in the Times Square shop? Where? For example, at the restaurant or at the Maximall shop. Therefore, your answer must be as I'm in Times Square shop at the restaurant or at the Maximall shop. I'm in Times Square at the restaurant. يعني أنا بالتايمز سكوير عند المطعم. At sometimes use just at does mean beside some thing. For example, if your friends ask you where are you, you could answer I'm at the restaurant. At the restaurant, what does it mean? That I'm not inside the restaurant but at the door of the restaurant or beside the restaurant. I'm at the restaurant. If your friend is also inside the Times Square and he phoned you, where are you? You could answer I'm at the restaurant, for example, Tazaj restaurant or another, ما أعرف اسمهم كلها. Okay, In, on, at. In, on must be in the first, then at, as this answer. As this answer. I'm in London. I'm in London at Heathrow Airport. Heathrow Airport المطار. Okay? So, this is very important preposition when you want to speak. Somebody will ask you, where are you? Therefore, you have to use this preposition by the right way. In, on, at. And you have to remember, in and on must be before at, because in and especially in, I'm speaking about the in used with very big city, in Basra, at the passport office or post office. Okay. Now this is your homework, and please, you have to be very careful with this homework, because could be I will consider your answer for this question as a answer for the final exam, but for the 30% of your score in the final exam. Okay? The question is, write down interpretation for the following HPLC chromatogram with less than 40 words. Please answer this question. But this question, the answer of this question in the next week, in the time of the lecture. يعني وقت المحاضرة. وقت المحاضرة راح نعطيك وقت إنه تجاوب على هذا السؤال. Prepare yourself. Make your answer very clear, very short, 40 words. Prepare yourself. Then, if I will ask you in the time of the lecture, you have to answer. And this is 30% of your score in the final exam. يعني هذا هو راح يكون 30%. فحضر نفسك للإجابة، يعني اكتب الإجابة من الآن، رتبها، وبعد ما أسألك جاوب. أنطيك 15 دقيقة أو 10 دقائق 10 minutes to answer. If I will ask you this question, if I will change, absolutely will be the same exactly. Therefore, you have to make practice, more practice to answer these questions. It's very clear question. You've got a chromatogram, that's diagram, chromatogram, one peak. This figure is HPLC chromatogram of 13-mer crude linear peptide 3B. يعني هو مركب مسوي له synthesis ومسوي له run بال HPLC machine. فشي ينطينا HPLC machine؟ ينطينا هذا الكروماتوجرام. فهذه البيك هي للكمباوند مالتنا. ف write down 40 words or less about this HPLC chromatogram. You've got peak, sharp, very narrow, has retention time, has intensity. Okay. We don't have any a lot of things to write down about it. Just this peak. If you want to write down something about this peak, could be right, or say this is could be impurities. Okay, impurities. One of the impurities inside the machine. But this is very important. This, if you want to speak about this peak, just this peak, that's fine. And use the words and text, write words, write text, and give me the explain. You have to consider me. I don't have any idea about this diagram or about this HPLC chromatogram. You have to give me interpretation to understand this chromatogram. Okay. I guess now we have finished the lecture, and It was very interesting lecture. Thank you so much for your listening, and have a nice time. Bye bye.